I am making a Gem Knight deck profile. I've been playing around with this deck ever since I found out Gem Knights are going to be getting more support. And through playing the deck, I learned a couple things I didn't realize when reading over the cards the first time. But I feel like this version is an OTK version where you're meant to go second and then just deal a crap ton of damage. I am working on one that goes first and finishes your opponent off, but I still need to get a couple cards for that. Once I have them, then I'll make an FTK version of this deck. And once the new support for Gem Knight gets released, then I'll do an updated deck profile. But overall, the deck is really fun and surprisingly more consistent than I thought it would be. So starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Lazuli. You want to say Lapis Lazuli, but that's a different monster. Lazuli's effect is if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can target one normal monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And typically I can send it off of one of the fusion monsters, fusion summoning it, or with one of the 2 copies of Crystal Rose. Crystal Rose can send a Gem Knight from your deck to the graveyard and then copy its name. And then you can banish a Gem Knight fusion monster from your graveyard once per turn to special summon it from the graveyard. And you can only use each effect of Crystal Rose once per turn. The other reason I play Crystal Rose is because it is a light monster, so this deck can actually make Gem Knight Seraphonite and actually without having any kind of cheating it out. Then I play 3 copies of one of the most important normal monsters, in my opinion, and that is 3 copies of Gem Knight Lapis. The reason this is important is because one of the biggest hitting monsters, one of the most damaging monsters in this deck, requires that fusion material. That's the only reason I think it's the most important. Then I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Obsidian. Obsidian has the effect if it's sent from your hand to the graveyard by card effect, which includes fusion summoning. You can then target one normal Gem Knight normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Alright, does that do anything? Oh, my bad. I was reading to make sure, and it actually says you can target one level 4 or a normal monster, so it doesn't even have to be a Gem Knight. Then I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Sapphire. Again, just because it's one of the more defensive ones, so Also, I play all these normal monsters because of one of the monsters I'll get to after all the Gem Knight monsters. And then I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Tourmaline. Tourmaline's only in this deck because it's a Thunder, so you can make Prismura, or you can use it to make Gem Knight Topaz. Then I play the 1 copy of Gem Knight Garnet, just because why not? But that is it for the Gem Knight monsters in the main deck. Moving on to the supporting monsters, I play 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit. I'll play 3 Rescue Rabbit in this deck because you play, or at least I play a play set of 3 different normal monsters, so Rescue Rabbit's almost never dead in this deck. And as I remember correctly, nope. But Rescue Rabbit overall is just good in this deck because if you see it, then you have a 1-card Link monster to get you a search for any Gem Knight card. Then I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joy Spring. This can be literally any hand trap you want. I just like Ash because I feel like it's still the best hand trap at the moment. And that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells. I play 1 copy of Instant Fusion, just because I play 3 things for it. 3 things. I play 3 Instant Fusion targets in this deck, so I felt Instant Fusion could be good. If I end up not liking it, then I'll just replace it with Harpy's Feather Duster. Then I play the 1 copy of Monster Reborn, since it being an extender in this deck actually does matter sometimes. Then I play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I play this since it's a Gem Knight deck. Most people will use their hand traps on Gem Knights, so being able to draw 2, take control of one of your opponent's monsters, or taking a card from your opponent's hand at random and putting it back in the deck. Or is it in the grave? I never used that effect, so I really don't know. Okay, you look at your opponent's hand, shuffle a card from their hand into the deck. All of those options are good, but if you don't want to play this or the Instant Fusion, then just play Effect Veiler or Ogre. Then I play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Again, you play a lot of normal monsters, so it's just an extender. If you control no monsters, this just lets you special summon a level 4 lower normal monster from your deck. So Garnet, Tourmaline, Sapphire, Lapis, any of them. The only condition is you have to control no monsters. Then I play, probably the most important card in this deck is 3 copies of Gem Knight Fusion. Gem Knight Fusion just lets you fusion summon a Gem Knight monster by using monsters you control as fusion material, or monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. And you can banish a Gem Knight monster from your graveyard to return it from your graveyard to your hand. And that is not a once per turn effect. So as long as you have the 1, you can summon as many fusion monsters as you want, as long as you still have the materials. Then I play 3 copies of Absorb Fusion. This just lets you add a Gem Knight monster from your deck to your hand. And then you can use its second effect, which just lets you fusion summon a Gem Knight fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials from your hand or your side of the field. You can only use that effect of Absorb Fusion once, and when you use that effect, you cannot summon monsters from your extra deck except for Gem Knight monsters. Which is perfectly fine because every monster in the extra deck is a Gem Knight. But I hardly ever actually use this Fusion Summoning effect. So in this deck, it's literally just a reinforcement of the army, more or less. But you can Fusion Summon. And that is it for these spells. Moving on to the traps, I only play 3, and that is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, as this is an OTK variant. I do side other traps for when I know I'm going to be going first, but I'd rather be going second. So Infinite Impermanence, just because you can activate from your hand while you control no cards. And it just lets you target an opponent's effect monster and negate its effects. And if it's set when you activate it, it negates all spells and traps in the same column as it. Which I found out the hard way does include your own. So if you activate it on your turn and then you activate a Gem Knight Fusion in its column, it will negate your Gem Knight Fusion. But that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Starting off with the links, I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Phantom Quartz. Phantom Quartz just requires 2 gem monsters, which everything you would make it with in this deck, it is a Gem Knight, so fulfillment required. But the fun part of this card is when it's link summoned, you can add 1 Gem Knight card from your deck to your hand. So if your opening hand has Rescue Rabbit, but no Gem Knight Fusion, you can just normal summon Rescue Rabbit, summon 2 Sapphire, link them off for this, and then search a Gem Knight Fusion. But then the fun part is a second effect of once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points. Shuffle banished Gem Knight monsters from your back into your deck, and then fusion summon a Gem Knight fusion monster. So typically what I'll do is I'll get 3 Gem Knight effect monsters banished, shuffle them back into the deck to activate Phantom Quartz effect and summon one of the other Gem Knights, which will probably be one of the last 2. Then I play 1 copy of Seraphonite. Seraphonite just gives you additional normal summon. So if it's actually needed. I've also thought about taking Seraphonite out for something like Gem Knight Ruby or Gem Knight Citron. Then I play 2 copies of Gem Knight Lady Lapis Lazuli. Lapis Lazuli, I'm pretty much sure everyone's familiar with. where you can send one Gem Knight from your hand, extra deck, or graveyard, or hand, extra deck, or main deck to the graveyard, to then burn your opponent for 500 points of damage for every special summon monster on the field. So typically when I use that effect, I'll have 6 monsters, so that's 3,000 points of damage, and then using another monster I can copy its effect and do it again. So that's 6,000 damage without even having to attack. Which, once I get the other cards for the FTK, it'll be much higher. Then, the only other part with Lady Lapis Lazuli that I realized I forgot was you can only special summon a monster of its name once per turn. So once you summon Lady Lapis Lazuli, if it gets destroyed instantly, then you cannot just summon another one or bring it back. Then I play 1 copy of Gem Knight Aquamarine, 1 copy of Gem Knight Topaz, and 1 copy of Gem Knight Amethyst. Aquamarine's only purpose in this deck is that if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. And then Topaz is literally just in this deck for Master Diamond to copy its effect and be able to attack twice with Piercing. Or was it Piercing? I actually don't remember what the second part of it is. Oh, my bad. No. You guys Gem Master Diamond the ability to attack twice and then deal damage equal to destroyed monsters' attack points. And then Amethyst's effect is in this deck is if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can then return all set spell and trap cards on the field to the owner's hand. I feel like it would have been better if it was return all spell and trap cards, but oh well. Then I play 1 copy of Gem Knight Prismura. Prismura just has the effect if you can send 1 Gem Knight card from your hand to the graveyard, to then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. That's actually a great effect in this deck, since Gem Knight Fusion can just constantly be returning to your hand. So using the effect of Prismura isn't all that too hard. Then I play 3 copies of Gem Knight Zirconia, just because Zirconia is the easiest Gem Knight to make, just playing a Gem Knight and a rock, considering most of them are rock. So I just play Zirconia for the fusion compatibility. Also, Zirconia does count as a normal monster, so it's fun to bring Zirconia back from the graveyard off of Obsidian. Then I play 1 copy of Gem Knight Lady Brilliant Diamond and 1 copy of Gem Knight Master Diamond. Master Diamond gains 100 attack points for every Gem Knight in your graveyard, as well as once per turn it can banish a Gem Knight fusion monster from your graveyard to then copy its effects. So it can banish Gem Knight Lady Lapis Lazuli from your graveyard to then copy its effects, so you can send Gem Knight Lazuli to the grave, burn your opponent for 500 for every special summon monster, and then return a normal monster from your graveyard back to your hand. And then Gem Knight Lady Brilliant Diamond has the effect of once per turn, you can tribute 1 Gem Knight monster to special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only use that effect once per turn. And Lady Brilliant Diamond can only be special summoned once per turn. I've honestly thought about playing 2 Lady Brilliant Diamond, just to have the second one as a backup, and I can just banish Master Diamond, Brilliant Diamond, any of the Gem Knight fusion monsters I need, to then use Phantom Quartz to summon the Lady Brilliant Diamond, and then just recycle the fusion monsters. I might honestly play a second Lady Brilliant Diamond over the Seraphonite in this deck, just because, again, you don't really need multiple normal summons, unless you have a bad hand. But that is it for the Gem Knight deck. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve it, any deck selects that you make, or deck decks like to see face each other, feel free to comment those down below. Thanks for watching.